The Everix! So you got your first mission, you're landing on Kerbal, you're splashdown, 5 Gs of G-force, and awarded for flying horizontally at Mach 1 below 30,000 in the Kerbal atmosphere. Look at that, the Mach 1 ribbon. Cool. Let's see if we can get more of those. Now, I can't... My spaceship is too far to recover it from here, but I can still get it. You can go to the tracking station over here. Hey, Gene Kerman. And then there's our Flea Hopper Mark II is way over there. We're just going to go ahead and recover it. And get a whole bunch of signs from that. And a decent amount of money as well. Excellent. And we didn't complete any missions because we got to go... We did get some milestones. Altitude records. 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, 3 kilometer. Splashdown in the ocean, so we got some money. We're getting a little bit of science from these things. Broke more altitude records, a bunch of speed records. Excellent. And those are worth a little bit of resources. We got some science to spend. Let's go spend it. We can make some planes. More flight control. It does give us those winglets, which are going to be pretty handy. I don't know if they're required quite yet. General construction... I think we can live with these. Advanced rocketry gives us the Terrier engine. Excellent. And a bigger fuel tank. Okay, we want that. Because it's really what we need to be able to properly go into space. This time, space for sure. Probably. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah. So, what we've just done is we've unlocked a new engine type. Not one we actually need to go into space. It'll help if we want to go orbital. Which we may or may not do this time. But more importantly, we've got a bigger gas tank, which is going to sort of help. So, the top bit, the payload, effectively, is going to be unchanged. I think it works pretty well for us, so we're going to do that. We're going to place the bottom bit. We're going to use a couple of them. So, the new engine we've got is the Terrier. The Terrier is an engine that is very bad in the atmosphere, but very good in space. And you can tell that if you right-click on it, you get extra stats on the side. And all of your engines have different stats. They have the maximum thrust, ASL is at sea level, and vac is in a vacuum. So this one has a thrust of 14 kilonewtons at sea level and 60 in a vacuum. So it's 4 times stronger in space, although not very strong, as we'll see in a second. But the big important thing is the engine ISP. This is your specific impulse. It's basically how fuel efficient you are. This is a fuel efficiency rating of 85 at sea level and 345 in a vacuum. It's like 4 times more fuel efficient in a vacuum as well. Now, if we compare to our other great engine, the Swivel max thrust at sea level is 168. So from 14 to 168, much more powerful at sea level. It actually is more powerful in a vacuum as well, but only a little bit more so. And the specific impulse is 270 to 320. So it's always pretty fuel efficient. The Terrier is more fuel efficient in space, by a little bit. But there you go. There's also the mass difference. The Terrier, so the Swivel here weighs 1.5 tons. The Terrier only weighs 0.5 tons. So this is a great sort of final stage on your ship. Now, do we actually want to try to orbit this time? It's tough. We don't have solar panels yet. I mean, we could technically enter orbit and then deorbit. That's probably okay. I don't think we need to use the Terrier for that. So let's have a final stage here that is small. Like this. And then, what I'm going to do is just hold Alt and then click to make a duplicate of that. And then another fuel tank down there. Do that. I think we can actually do much more than that. Let me break up my staging a little bit more proper. So, because I'm using MechJeb, or you can also use Kerbal Engineer, or I think there's another one as well, you can get Delta V information about your design. This tells you basically, effectively, how much bang for your buck. Delta V is the total, V is velocity, so this is going to tell you the total change in velocity that you can achieve with this design. Right now I'm sitting at 2600. You really need about 3500 as a minimum to go into orbit. 2600 should be plenty to touch space, though. Now, I could make it a little bit longer. We're at 3100. I could probably, and it actually might be better, to make this stage a little bit more. 3200. almost, but not quite orbital. I'm leery about making this any longer than this, though, because I'm really worried that FAR is going to come and bite us in the ass. But if I did do this, that's 3,600. If I fly exactly right, this can get us into orbit. But we don't have quite as much thrust to weight as I would like at the bottom, so that's the first number, the TWR. Technically, if you have a thrust weight of 1, then the force of gravity is exactly equal to the force of your rocket, so you literally go nowhere. I like to target about 1.3 to start off with. Your thrust weight ratio doesn't matter once you're in space, because there's no gravity in space, which isn't true, but it is true, so let's ignore it. So we could start with this. I could... $4,500. The only question is, this rocket, so we still don't have proper control surfaces here, although we'd have 3 gimbling engines on the bottom, which is nice. So the symmetry not being applied right. I know, this should still technically help. How many parts are we at? Because we do have a limit right now. Oh, this is slightly over. Do we have enough money? We don't have... Okay, so here's the thing. Right now, the vehicle assembly building can only handle 30 parts, and this is 31 parts already, and I would want to add some extra batteries. I'm going to officially call it, this thing will not go into space. Well, no, this will go into space. It won't go into orbit. This is going to be my design. First stage is still going to be a little wimpy. I don't have... Oh, I do have radial decouplers. Nice. So, we're going to kickstart things with some extra SRBs. Do I want the thumpers? I mean, they're pretty, like, redonk, but they would get the job done. Actually, we could literally just start with just the SRBs. They don't steer, but we're going straight up. It's 42 seconds. What's my part count? 27. And then 29. And 1 battery? Makes me feel a little leery. Now, when these 2 engines are burning, when the 2 fuel engines are burning, they do generate power, which is okay. My only concern was when I'm floating around in space, running out of battery power. Would be less than great. Also, the fact that the battery is not... I can put the battery on the right-hand side. It'll actually assist in the gravity turn. At some point, they're going to stop being called the flea hoppers, but this will be the final one. This is going to be the final... That might even hit orbit. If I don't F it up and die. We're at exactly 30 parts to our limit. We need 250,000 Kerbal bucks to upgrade the VAB to have more parts. I'm hoping it's not too heavy for the launch pad. Oh, it is! My launch pad has a maximum mass of 18 tons. Luckily, that is cheaper to upgrade, so I guess I will do that. So the launch pad is only 75,000. So right now it's got a weight limit of 18 tons. This will increase it to 140 tons, which is going to be good for a really, really long time. Call it a grasshopper? Oh, I like it. Rocket looks like it's going to snap. I am a little concerned because we don't have a parts budget for struts. I don't know what's going to happen here. I suspect they're going to bow in a little bit, which is going to eat some of our Delta V, but won't necessarily kill us. Grasshopper. Mark 1. This is going to be an orbital attempt, you guys. And do we want an experienced pilot or not? Well, actually, we're out of our pilot queue, so I'm going to loop it around to our first pilot, which was TF2 Brum Brum Brum. No, that's an engineer. First pilot, medical major. You're the first one to go into space. You might even do orbit. I don't like doing this without solar panels, but hopefully they'll be okay. What could possibly go wrong? That engine, that stage, this engine, decouple and do that. Let's find out. Space Hopper fits the orbital attempt. Ah, that's true. We'll have to come up with some better ship names soon. They should be called the Death Pencil with extra bits. No budget for struts. Yeah, we're maximum parts. And struts really are like the #1 thing in Kerbal. You got a problem with your design? Add more struts. So when we launch, what's going to happen is these two things are going to flex inwards a little bit. Hopefully not so much that they actually smash this. Well, there's only one way to find out. Medical Major, all the hopes and prayers of Kerbaldom go with you. So I'm going to ignite just the SRBs. Once they burn out, I'm going to throw them off and light the central engine. Actually, I suppose I could wiggle the stages around here. Just hoping to not burn these off. All right, let's just go. Woohoo! It is the launch of the Grasshopper 1. You know, when I drop these SRBs, they're going to smash down to our space center. I'm sure that's fine. Now, we don't have any gimbling thrust right now, and actually we're not getting much in the way of flex, which is nice. I may have installed the like the sturdier connections mod. We'll see. I can't throttle down, which is not good. I should have used just the smaller SRBs. Okay, I'm just gravity turning a wee bit with the reaction wheel on top. It's not a whole lot of control, but I'm trying to establish a little bit of rightwards motion. I'm also hoping that little battery pack might help twist. Okay, we're going a little faster than I want, but I can't throttle these down. What I should have done is derated these guys and maybe taken a smaller one at the same time. We're going pretty fast. We're getting a lot of air pressure. Okay, let's ditch these guys. Lovely. And light the next engine because we are slowing down right now. And we got good control with this and with those control surfaces, and we're getting a little bit less of atmosphere density. So we're really not doing a very good gravity turn at all. We went way too straight up for way too long. On the other hand, I mean, we're definitely going to go very high. We're going to end up very high. I don't know if we'll be able to achieve orbit successfully, just because this is not a very efficient maneuver. I don't want to go too much outside of this yellow circle here. The atmosphere is thinning, though, so it's not getting too bad. Speed is increasing, which is what we're looking for. Time to apoapsis is climbing kind of rapidly. Okay. All right, it's thin enough. I'm going to risk going quite far from my my prograde. We're getting air pressure that's hitting us like up and down here, but I'm trying to push us more sideways because it's very, very important for us to be going sideways. Okay, we will not orbit just because we don't have a very efficient path, but we will definitely hit space. Okay, I think it's thin enough I should be able to go directly sideways, especially with the next stage. And go. Again, the shorter the thing is, the less the atmospheric things is a problem. So we're pushing it sideways. Actually, time to apoapsis is dropping. While still the apoapsis is climbing, which is okay. Because this is flattening out our route. If we opened up the map for the very first time, and see what's happening here is it's flattening out our orbit, which is good. I mean, ideally you flatten it to the point where it, circularizes around the planet here. So we're bringing down our time to apoapsis while this is climbing, so we end up with a flatter and flatter thing. Ideally, the sweet spot is if you hit this to be 0 right when you circularize, and also your apoapsis is high enough that you're in space. And oh, we also need to leave enough gas for us to deorbit. We don't need much for that, but we do need at least some. All right, I'm gonna pitch up a little bit to ensure that we go into space. I don't feel like we've got the margin of fuel to do this quite right. Okay, well, we're definitely gonna end up in space now. Okay, now we're stop. I think we will technically be able to hit orbit. Maybe I shouldn't have raised it up quite so much. I might have gotten a little too paranoid, you guys. We're about to cross into space. Once it hits 70,000, we will be in space for the very first time. Not in orbit, but we will be in space. Medical Major will be the first Kerman to slip the surly bonds of Earth, or whatever the thing is. Flamebeard, thank you very much for the resub for 22 months in a row. That's amazing. I could have, if I'd not panicked quite so much and raised my apoapsis quite as much as I did, I think we would have been able to orbit and deorbit safely. It's going to be tight, but we are already pretty damn circular. We don't need to raise our peri very much. So, space terms. Apoapsis is the top of the highest point in your orbit, and periapsis is the lowest point in your orbit. Right now, our periapsis is just inside the planet. The best place to raise the periapsis is from the apoapsis. So when we're here, we're going to burn, try to raise it. And if we get that above 70, we will be in orbit around the planet above the atmosphere. Let's science! Crew report! Seems we are very much in space now. The sky seems to be mostly below us. Excellent. We got to expand that, make sure electric charge. I would love to transmit this, but I'm worried about running out of power. Transmitting will eat about like 30 or 40 units of charge, which is quite a bit. We have the ability to recharge a bit more when we're in this engine, though. You know what? No, we'll transmit it. That's going to be okay. So that way we can run a crew report again. Material study, we're not going to transmit because we wouldn't get much for it. Microgravity, it has currently affected the growth of crystalline structures. Loose objects are also flying around the bay in a very messy but fascinating way. See, if I hadn't raised my apoapsis so much, we would be a lot closer to our apo. Too much panic. Mystery goo. What do you have to say about it? Goo seems to have clumped in the sphere. It also appears to become brittle, mostly because it's probably frozen. And a temperature scan! Collected and recorded temperature from the environment. Space while near Kerbal, so it doesn't have a biome attached to it. So no point in transmitting it right now. And we'd only get 50, so we may as well just keep it. We can get some more later on. Okay, and there we go. Flying high above Kerbal. What's the key? Is it F2 to hide the interface? Hold on, let me quick save before I start hitting keys at random. There we go. It's pretty. Sun is hiding over there. That's the sunset that we're seeing. But we'll probably be here long enough to see a sunrise on the other side, actually. There's the moon. And I can never see Minmus. I think you can see it if it's, technically on the right side. But it's, like, so tiny, I never spot it. Quill, he is going farther and farther from Earth. Please don't lose him like we lost George and Sandra. #gravity. That movie made me hurt. I think it hurt a lot that I saw it, like, after The Martian. Like, we saw a really good space movie, and then I watched Gravity, and I was like, eh. It's not the worst. But it's like, you've played Kerbal. You've got a sense of orbital mechanics. There's no way that debris cloud would ever happen and be a problem. It doesn't make any sense. Alright, we're going to fast forward to our apoapsis. Can I set an alarm to apoapsis? I don't think so. I don't think it will let me do it. No, it won't let me do it until I've upgraded the tracking station, which is nice. This is a mod, by the way, but it's great because one of the things that happens, especially when I time warp, is I time warp too long. So I'm going to time warp here, and I try to bring this down. We're really not going to need much of a burn. Like less than 30 seconds, we're going to start our burn to try to circularize. All right, it's going a little faster. And bring it down. Okay, so we got a minute to apoapsis. So I'm just turning here. Ooh, I need to increase my planet shine. There we go. The reason I have that mod is so that you can see things in the dark, which is good for videos. Okay, I'm just turning so that we're facing prograde. So we're going to face in the direction that we're moving, which is what we want. We want to go faster so that our orbit on the other side... Because here's the thing. When you're going around a circle, right? Wherever you are on the circle, if you step on the gas, you're not going to change where you are there, right? So where you're changing is really the other side. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's just, you can't change where you are this second by burning more gas. What you're doing is you're getting to other places faster and getting higher. Okay, we got 20 seconds to go. I'm going to go ahead and burn, and yeah, that's going to increase our apo. Whoop. Okay, because our periapsis is no longer in the ground, the camera just shifted, because technically we're sort of in orbit, except for the fact that Kerbal has an atmosphere. Therefore, when we get to the other side, we'll hit the air, which will slow us down too much. Yeah, we'll easily be able to circularize. It's going to be a little bit of a burn with a few seconds left. Just pointing towards the peri again. A little bit more gas. And there we go. Our periapsis is above 80,000 kilometers, which means at no point are we touching the atmosphere. In real life, the atmosphere extends out forever and ever and ever and ever. But in Kerbal, it's got a hard stop. So nothing will ever slow us down. We'll orbit here forever unless, we slow ourselves down, which is going to be important because we don't have life support stuff with us. We've only got what's in the capsule and the spacesuit. Whatever he had for breakfast that morning, that's all the food he's got on him. And oxygen is also eventually going to run out with our life support setup. So we do want to bring him back down. But before we do, we probably have completed some missions. So stage destroyed. These are the stages that we drop behind us. They got destroyed because we didn't put parachutes on them because we didn't have the parts budget. More world first milestone. We got 24,000 bucks and 2 science just for entering orbit. Booyah! We completed the mission to escape the atmosphere. And if I open up this is a mod called Capcom, which lets you see your active missions. Oh, it does have to be unmanned. Interesting. So the other one said the same thing, but it completed at some point, so I'm really confused. We never ran an unmanned mission, did we? Whatever. Anyway, so that won't count for that, but we'll get another one. But I can pick another one. You can also just go back to the Space Center and grab something, but... yeah, none of these are contracts that are going to be helpful right now. This is from the Grand Tour mod, which is great. And this would be a grand tour of, like, all the moons in the entire solar system, or a bunch of them in the solar system. We're going to not take that one right now, because that's well beyond us. I'm going to cancel that. Hopefully we'll get something else. Grand tour of all the planets, yes, at some point, but not now. Let's cancel more of these contracts. I mean, certainly, it's going to give us something interesting at some point. So these are all, like, area-specific. We have to be at a specific spot to do these. Same thing here. Kick off space tourism. There we go. We're going to take that one. That's going to be fun. All right, so we're at 2 contracts again. Okay, it's time to bring our pilot home. I don't particularly care where we land, although it would be nice... so we're going this way. It would be nice to land on a new type of land. So we've done the ocean. So ideally we'd like to land here, which I think we could do pretty handily. I'm going to turn... so we're facing retrograde. Basically, we're facing backwards. So we're going to be burning and slowing ourselves down. What that's going to do is going to drop the opposite side of our orbit. And I'm going to try to get it so that we're hitting the atmosphere somewhere around here. And if we're lucky, we'll land in the desert. Maybe even hit the atmosphere around here. So, let's... a little more. You can watch the periapsis drop over here. We're going to want to drop it a little bit more than that. Say around 23 kilometers. That's going to be fine. And we're going to hit that 23 kilometers here, which I think that will actually, we'll technically hit the 23 kilometers a little sooner, because we'll be slowing down before that, because we're starting to hit the atmosphere somewhere around here. So we'll gradually be slowing down. This is around the point we'll start to hit really thick atmosphere, which to me means we're probably going to land right around here in the middle of the desert, which would be awesome. It would be really good, wouldn't it? I think so. Okay, we still have some gas left, but I think I'm going to go ahead and ditch this stage now, unless we wanted to keep the extra electricity, which I don't think we need to. I can't EVA. Unless I go... I would have felt comfortable doing this before we lowered our periapsis, but I could have upgraded the astronaut thing, which would allow us to EVA in space. But we'll do that. We'll do that on the next flight. The first Mercury missions did not do EVAs. The first Mercury mission didn't even go orbital, so we're ahead of NASA. Choo-choo. I think we need a little bit more planet shine. I think it's a little dark. It looks good, but I think it makes for bad videos, so we're going to increase a little bit more of the ambient light. There we go. So you don't get quite as much as like the darkness effect, but it's still pretty dark. Still pretty dark. You can tell we're on the dark side, obviously. The dark side. Come to the dark side. We have cookies. So what I'm going to do, sure, I'm going to turn, I don't know, this way. When I decouple, I don't like to be in a straight line. I like to do something like this. So technically I'll get boosted into a slightly lower orbit, and this bit will get boosted into a slightly higher orbit, which is fine. So I'm going to do that. All right, good. It's not really going to affect our actual orbit that much, but I'm going to feel comfortable about that kind of space. Turn off the SAS just to make sure we're not consuming any power. I should have transferred all the power from the batteries into my crew capsule. Don't think it's going to matter. I'm a little concerned. So I'm going to quick save because I'm about to time warp. Now, this is a time warp where physics are effectively turned off. The second we hit the atmosphere, which is going to happen at 70K, it's going to stop this time warp. I could still physics warp at that point if I was being impatient, which I frequently am. But we're going to do that. That should be all right. And then I'll deal with sort of steering and controlling and all those things. Hope the heat shield works. Yep, that's true. I'm hoping that we actually don't really need the heat shield that much. Coming in from orbit's not quite as bad as aerobraking returns, say, from the moon, but probably wouldn't need the heat shield, especially with the fair aerospace. Okay, we're just hit 70. It auto deep time warped us because you can't do a non-physics time warp when you're in the atmosphere. So we're going to face retrograde here. I will go ahead, I'll quick save one more time, and I'm going to start physics warping. And I'm going to hit caps lock to get more fine-tuned control, because it's a little hard to steer while you're also time warping. And I'm just going to try to keep myself facing retrograde. So basically my butt is facing into the incoming air, because that's where my heat shield is. If you look over here, you've got an ablator stat. Here, I can actually turn that on. So that's basically the sort of ablator. It takes damage from the heat, but that's good. It's one of the ways it bleeds off the excess heat, is by losing some of these ablator hit points, basically. So you want this to go down. Obviously, we don't want it to hit 0, but other than that, we're quite happy. There's a possibility the goo canisters will get exposed to a little bit too much, air. Interesting note, it is not friction that makes things heat up and glow here. It's actually air compression. All right, let's go and de-time warp a bit, because that's a bit shaky on the screen. And you've experienced this. Things that get compressed gets hot, and things that get expanded get cold. Anytime you've ever used a can of aerosol and you spray it and the can gets really cold, might even frost up, especially if you use compressed air for a computer, because that's really compressed and then really uncompresses. It's really, really cold, and it's because things that expand get colder, things that compress get hot. And what's happening is, as we're slamming into the air, we're squeezing the air in front of us together. We're compressing the air ahead of us, which is what makes things get warm. So yeah. In theory, this could be aerodynamically stable enough to keep that butt end there, but I find that will work if I've got the heat shield sort of just on this module, but with the extra stuff, I find it doesn't like to do it on its own, so I'm going to keep the SAS on, so it tries to keep pointing the right way, and then as we come down, our actual prograde will shift a little from our actual orientation, so I'll just have to keep tweaking from time to time, but we seem to be perfectly safe. We've already bled off some speed. We're about to hit the much thicker part of the atmosphere, especially as we hit 20,000. We're going to do that. Unfortunately, we are going to land far short of where I was hoping. So we're going to land in the ocean again, so no more new biome science for me. I should have, well, I had limited ability to sort of plan where we were going. If I'd waited longer to burn retrograde, I could have made sure the periapsis was a little further to the right, which I should have done. I didn't expect it to kill off so much. Oh well. And there we go. We've slowed down enough. The ablator shouldn't even lose any more hit points, probably. Hey, a crew report. Oh, we're high over the water, I think, is what it was. Cool. We're gonna keep it, because we're still, okay, the reason we're still losing electric charge is because SAS is trying to keep us stable. I'm gonna turn off SAS. If we start tumbling now, that's fine. It could re-up us apart, but probably not. We'll get a few G-forces there, but medical major will get a good shake-up. And then we're just gonna wait until our surface speed drops to around 250, and we'll deploy our chutes. There we are. Not a single death yet. What the hell? Center mass closer to the heat shield on top of the craft, and then it helped face it the same way. Yeah, I mean, most of the reason it stays stable is because of aerodynamic forces. But yeah, the center of mass would affect things. I can't really tweak it. I could have brought the goo canisters a little bit lower down, but I think they would have been exposed to a little bit too much re-entry heat. Okay, we should be able to deploy anytime we want. I'll go ahead and deploy now. That way we won't have to worry about, missing it. I'm going to quick save and then physics warp. When these parachutes completely deploy, we'll get some G-forces over here. Medical major is going to get a bit of a bump right there. Oof! Neck snapping. But otherwise, we're good. Landing at a gentle 4.4 meters per second. That is a very soft landing, especially in the water, now that it's water. It was ironic. Water was more lethal than landing on ground. You had more chance of surviving a hard landing on ground than a hard landing on water in the previous system. Now, water buoyancy changes should make it a lot better. We've, of course, lost that other stage, as expected. That is fine. Yeah, I've heard that when you quick load in atmosphere, there's a chance on reload things will fall apart and maybe parachutes will be missing, those things. It's a risk I'm going to have to take if I'm going to quick save before the time warp. I do have a mod, that mod that increases the sort of strength of some of the junctions. One of the things it does is when you load the game, it actually dampens the physics effects on load. So gravity, other forces, and other physics effects get dampened and then slowly get brought up to the regular level. That way, when you load a game, everything's got a moment to sort of like get itself properly done. Oh, cabin view. Yeah, we can do an IVA view. In-vehicle activity. There we go. This is what it looks like in here. We got one tiny little window. We could have looked out in space, but it wouldn't have been particularly interesting. We'll get some better ones later on. We got that. I do have the RCI system so that these buttons actually work, which is great. You can set targets and stuff like that, all kinds. It's really excellent. Yeah, nav info. It's great. It's like flying a plane. One day, we will do full IVA missions. Some of these buttons also do things. These are action groups. There's great third-party mods that give you versions of these where all like the buttons and things get labeled based on your action group, so you can really customize things properly. But yeah, there you go. I mean, you can do a lot just with the nav ball, and the radar altitude actually is handy. You don't have that normally in vanilla. Anywho, and then people are always like, okay, how do I leave this view? Because it's not explained. You hit the C key. It's literally, you can get in, but you can never leave. There we go. World first milestone. We have returned to the surface from orbit. It is possible. Oh, I'm still time warping. It is possible if I EVA. Probably not, but I'll take all the data, I'll store all the data, and I'll jump back in. There might be another crew report. No. Let's go ahead and recover. Medical Major has been to space and come back. Not only that, he technically entered orbit. He never went around Kerbal. Technically entered orbit, but without solar panel technology, we don't want to spend a lot of time in space, because if we ran out of battery, bad things happen.